British Columbia is home to some of the most diverse agricultural products in Canada. From the traditional family farm to vineyards or fisheries, if you're into eating local foods, you're in luck. I'm Laurie Petrick, dietitian and local food lover. Join me as I visit BC food producers and farmers who are committed to providing fresh, local foods that are good for you and good for our earth. You may have noticed as you walk through your local farmers market or grocery store, more and more farmers are starting to advertise eco-food certifications. Salmon-Safe is an eco-certification label that recognizes farmers who use agricultural practices that protect Pacific salmon habitat and water quality. BC's program coordinator, Costanza Testino, explains how the Salmon-Safe program came to fruition.
It's a program that started in Oregon in 1996 and has been very successful throughout the West Coast. We have over 300 farms certified now, and we have been working with farmers to promote conservation practices and habitat restoration. We brought the program here in BC in 2010. Salmon is a keystone species here in BC. Over 130 species depend upon them. So the health of salmon is tightly intertwined to that of a larger ecosystem. So by protecting salmon, we're actually protecting the larger ecosystem.
To get a first-hand look at a Salmon-Safe certified farm, I visited Rootdown Organics, a small-scale certified organic farm owned and operated by Sarah McMillan and Simone MacIsaac. The farm is blessed with a flat, fertile valley bottom bordered by the Rhine River, a salmon-bearing river and crucial salmon spawning ground. Behind us here is a movable chicken coop. Why do you have it movable?
We used to have our chickens in our barn, and they were in a pretty, they got rotated between two different green patches, but it's an area that we don't use, and we suddenly realized their manure is really rich. We're really low in phosphorus in the valley here. Their manure is really high in phosphorus. Why don't we figure out a way to utilize these chickens and their manure?
And previous to moving them, they were close to the river. What is the problem with your chickens being close to the ditch and close to the river? What problems did that cause for the Salmon-Safe certification?
I think straight up, it's just basically the manure. If there's any runoff from their, we put their bedding down and we would remove that bedding. That would be where the manure is. But you're still going to have seepage. High nitrogen in any kind of waterway is going to negatively impact any kind of wildlife or any kind of life.
Chicken manure wins first place in terms of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content. When high amounts of manure enter our waterways through irrigation runoff, rains, or erosion, the phosphorus and nitrogen are a perfect fuel for algae blooms. When the algae dies off, it leaves high concentrations of dead organic matter, which start to decay. The decay process consumes dissolved oxygen in the water. Without sufficient oxygen, fish and plants can die off in large numbers.
When the Salmon-Safe folks came by, one of the recommendations was that we remove the chickens from the barn and place them further away from the drainage ditch, which eventually drains into the river. Because I think the barn was built there prior to the ditch being there, and it's bordering right on that ditch. And even though at the time we only had 20 hens, and now we have quite a few more, it seemed like a wise idea to remove them. It seems to make sense too. Here we are in a situation in which our vegetables are in fields that are low in nitrogen and low in phosphorus, and we have chickens that we have them for eggs. But wait a minute, chicken manure is really high in nitrogen and phosphorus. It's well, can't we figure out a way to be efficient with it? And we could just have them all in one location and then take all that manure and apply it. Yeah, it's more labor for us because every week we have to move them, but then we never have to move a huge big manure pile.
Yeah,
and so they spread it for us. And we don't have to clean the coops as often because there's not nearly as much buildup in there, and so it's happier living for them. And
easier living for you.
Easier living for us, yeah.
You can support Sarah and Simone and their Salmon-Safe efforts by joining their community-supported agricultural program or shopping at Whistler supermarkets. For Farm Folk, City Folk, I'm Laurie, and this has been Good for You and Good for Our Earth.
ta,